up, tribe? How you guys doing? We are back for a retro review. This is A Different World, Season 3, Episode 4. So listen, this is actually a cute episode too. It's an episode I remember. Of course, remember this is Professor Randolph is still there as a visiting professor teaching them about African American history. And we start this episode off with Professor Randolph telling the story of the Amistad to a group of kids. And come to find out, these are the outreach kids that Walter, y'all know Walter has his little outreach program. He's a, sociology, getting his degree. I believe it was in sociology or counseling or something like that. But remember, we saw that last season where he had the outreach kids, because remember they stole Whitley's wallet, girl. So he's telling the story of the Amistad. Now let me pause there. Let me give y'all a quick little story time. Debbie Allen, she tells the story of I saw an interview where she was telling the story of, she picked up the book Amistad out of the bookstore at Howard University. She'd gone back to Howard for homecoming or something to that effect, some sort of situation where she went back, and she picked up something from the bookstore to read on a plane flying back to LA. And she picked up the book about the Amistad, and she read about it. She had never heard the story of the Amistad before, and she wanted to make it a movie. She thought this was a story everybody needed to hear, and she shopped that book for years. She shopped it. She bought the rights to it, and she shopped it for years until she finally got somebody in Hollywood who would give her a meeting, who listened to her pitch, and who said, you know what? I think that's a good idea. Do y'all know who that was? It was Steven Spielberg. And Steven Spielberg agreed to make the movie, and they ended up making the movie The Amistad. Now, I need to check the year, because I'm not sure if this happened before the Amistad, the movie was made, or after the movie was made. But again, prior to that movie, a lot of people didn't know, myself included, the story of the Amistad. And so I remember hearing Debbie Allen tell that, and I never knew that Debbie Allen had anything to do with that movie being made. But she bought the rights to the story and shopped it until she got somebody to do the movie, and it was Steven Spielberg. Anyway, so that's just a side note, y'all. So afterwards we meet Alex. Alex is one of the kids. Him and Freddie have built this good relationship, and Freddie says, hey, what are you doing this weekend? You want to do something? And he says, no, Freddie, I gotta go to the fair. And she said, the fair? She said, I haven't been to the fair in years. She said, no, she said, I haven't been on a Ferris wheel in years. She said, can I tag along? And he said, not that kind of fair. He said, it's an adoption fair. She was like, an adoption fair? He said, yeah, an adoption fair. He said, and this year I'm going to get picked. Somebody's going to pick me. And she was like, what? He was like, I even have a tie. And she shows him her tie and everything. He shows her his tie and everything. And of course, she's asking him questions. She said, are you making this up? He said, no. He said, we have the fairs, and that's where parents come to look at us and, and adopt us. And somebody's going to take me home today or this time. So Freddie ends up going to the adoption fair. She takes Kim with her. And she is totally appalled at what she sees. She is totally appalled at what she sees, right? She sees that, these parents, in her mind, what she sees are these parents picking over these kids like cattle, right? That's how she feels it is. She sees Alex with his name tag on. He's got his tie. And, he has this whole little speech, prepared. I'm Alex. I like to fish, swim, and, play video games or whatever. And she is just upset. She sees the parents, nitpicking. And even one parent, one set of parents were talking to Alex, and she tried to sell him. And Kim was like, she was like, when he said, I like to swim, she said, oh, he doesn't just like to swim. He's the best swimmer. And I like to play video games. She said, oh, he's a computer genius, And Kim tells her, girl, calm down, like, chill out. And she was like, Kim, I'm just trying to help. And she was like, I know. She said, but listen, there's nothing we can do about it. You've seen it. We got to get to class. And so she said, well, I need to find out who's in charge. So she ends up going to the guy who's in charge of it. And she's, fussing at him. And he was like, listen, I get it. I understand where you're coming from. He was like, but I got 25 kids on my caseload. And this is a way that I can hopefully help as many kids at one time find a home. Like, this is the best I got. These are the resources I'm giving. It's the best I can do with what I have. And she's just, she's just appalled by the whole thing. She's like, this is absolutely horrible, and she's upset. So they end up going to class, and they're talking about W.E.B. Du Bois versus Booker T. Washington, which I absolutely love that debate. Anyway, Ron has actually done the reading, and so he is trying to impress everybody with his knowledge and skills of the man, the W.E.B. Du Bois, right? That was W.E.B. Du Bois. Of course, it's Ron, so he's still clowning, right? So Kim and Freddie come in late. Professor Randolph takes note. As an educator myself, I saw what he did. He saw them come in. He hit them with the watch move and the little look back like, I see you, you see me, we see each other, right? So during class, he tries to call on Freddie, and she's just not there. She's not there. So she ends up telling the class about the adoption fair. And Professor Randolph said, listen, it is unfortunate. There are over 500,000 kids in foster care, and most of them are kids of color. And unfortunately, a lot of our kids are caught up in the system. And so after class, Professor Randolph tries to talk to Freddie, and he tries to console her. And Freddie is just like, it's just not fair. It just makes me so angry. So then she hits him with but are you married? He was like, yeah. Do y'all have kids? He was like, no. She said, well, you can adopt him. He said, whoa. He said, my wife and I have actually talked about adoption, but we would like an infant. And she was like, really? Oh, okay. So just like, those parents today, they wanted the young kids, you want an infant. And he was like, it's really not your business, Freddie. Like, it's really a personal matter. And she was like, no, I see what it is. You can talk the talk, but you can't walk the walk. Like, you got all this big talk about how we need to help our people, but when you got an opportunity to do it, then you ain't trying to do it. And of course, in the moment, like, I remember seeing this the first time, and I remember cringing in this scene, and it made me cringe again, where it's like, girl, calm down. Like, I get it that you passionate and all that, but you really need to chill out. Like, you really need to check yourself. And he told her, he was like, Freddie, you're overstepping. I need you to calm down, okay? And but she sort of hits him with a jab on her way out the door, basically telling him, "Oh, it's easier to write about our people's problems than do anything about them." And you could tell it hit him. It hit him in a spot. We had a cute little scene with when they were handing out the lunches to the kids. Whitley and Dwayne flirting, child. We ain't get no quinoa this episode, but they was doing their little flirt thing or whatever. So after class, Freddie and Kim end up going back to Ron's apartment. They hanging out or whatever. And we see Alex coming up the steps. Now he gets to the top of the steps and he doesn't know exactly what apartment they go into. So he ends up knocking on Whitley and Jaleesa's door. Whitley answers the door, and she don't even recognize him from the program that she was just with them earlier that day. And she's like, she said, I don't want none of your cookies, buzz off, And then here come Dwayne coming out the apartment, and he was like, yo, Alex, what's up? And Whitley was like, oh, hey, sweetheart. Now all of a sudden, she's such a caring. She said, I was just helping him look for Freddie. He was like, no, you weren't. You told me to get lost. She was like, I was just joking with you, So, kids will tell on you. Kids don't be playing them games. Kids will tell on you. So, they end up taking him into the apartment, and he wants to talk to Freddie. Freddie gonna say, I think Alex wants to talk to me. And I'm thinking to myself, so you think all of them are supposed to leave their apartment so you can talk to Alex? You better take him in the hall. But she ends up talking to him, and he tells her, he said, listen, I ran away. Like, I'm not going back there. I hate the fair. Nobody wants me. And, she's like, that's not true. Alex, don't say that. And he was like, no, really, nobody wants me. And he said, can I stay here with you? And she's like, I wish I could, but, like, I don't even have a job. Like, he was like, see, you don't want me either. So, I mean, of course, it breaks your heart, and they're hanging out in the apartment trying to figure out what to do. They don't want to send him back, but they know they really can't keep him. By this time, it's Whitley, Freddie, Kim, Dwayne, and Ron. And Ron is like, listen, we need to get this kid out of here, and the rest, Freddie was like, just give me some time to figure out. Give me some time to figure it out. So Whitley ends up going across the hall. She says she's going to go get him some cookies, go get some cookies. I think she just needed a breather, right? Well, Walter comes looking for Alex. He knocks on Jaleesa's door first. He's like, have you seen Freddie? And Jaleesa's like, no, I haven't seen her. He was like, she said, check across the hall at Ron's. He said, yeah, I'm looking for Alex. He ran away. We got to get him back. It's getting late. I'm getting worried. So Whitley actually goes on the fire escape and goes over to the apartment to get Alex, pull him back over to Jaleesa's apartment. And, Walter's giving them the whole story. Listen, he ran away. And they like, well, we haven't seen him. We haven't seen him. And they were like, Walter was like, okay, fine. Well, I need y'all to help me look for him. It's getting late. I'm getting worried. So while they're on the other side, Jaleesa is like, who is this and where did he come from? Because they done come in, Whitley and Alex done came in from the fire escape. And Whitley was like, oh, it's just my friend. She said, is that the kid that that Walter's looking for? She said, no, it's another kid. She was like, so he introduced himself. Hi, my name is Alex. I like to swim, I like to swim, fish, and whatever he said. Jaleesa was like, this is the little boy. And so he thinks that Jaleesa is going to turn him in. So he ends up opening the door to run out of the apartment. And as he's running out, he really ends up running into Walter, because Walter and them are coming out of Dwayne and Ron's apartment. So, of course, he was like, all right, y'all, I get it. Like, nice try, but I got to take him back. So we see, so the next scene, we see Colonel Sanders. We see the Colonel, we see Mr. Gaines, and we see Professor Randolph. They're playing cards, they're playing probably 3-card spades or 3-card bid whist, whatever, I never heard them bid, but we're going to let them have that because, they was playing cards. And they talking trash, Mr. Gaines is talking trash, and the three of them, they clowning or whatever. And then Walter comes through, and, they're like, oh my gosh, thank God you here, Walter. Now we can, play some cards, yada, yada, yada. So Walter tells them what happened about how he had to take Alex back and how bad he felt, And so they were like, well, what is his story anyway? How did he end up in foster care? And he said, well, at 4, his dad died when he was 4, and his mother abandoned him, and ain't nobody seen her since. And he's kind of just been in foster care, because he's 8 now, so for the last 4 years. And all 4 of them are talking about how they, how it's a shame that, he's in foster care. It's a shame that nobody could adopt him, and, Mr. Gaines said, I should go down there and get him myself. And Colonel Taylor is like, you're a little too old. They want people more my age. He was like, your age? Like, you ain't no spring chicken, Professor Randolph was like, or me, or people my age. And you can see that he's thinking, right? You can see that he's thinking. So the next day, we see Mr. Gaines put on a wig, honey, and go down to the adoption agency. And while he's waiting, Colonel Taylor comes in and Walter. So all 3 of them go to get interviewed. And they all 3 get upset because the man tells them, listen, think about it. Thank you for applying. This is what the qualifications are. This is what the process is. Think about it. So they're upset because I guess they thought that the man was just going to say, here go Alex, take him home. But they're all upset. They're back at the pit, and they're talking about how how dare they turn me down. And Walter was like, he didn't turn any of us down. He told us to think about it. And Mr. Gaines still got that daggone wig on, honey, and I am laughing. And that thing was so funny when they saw him in that wig. I was sitting in here laughing out loud with Mr. Gaines in that damn wig, honey. It was one of them. It was what they call them, a shakeout kitten wig. What they call it? The shake and go kitten wig. Anyway, so next thing you know, Alex comes running in to Freddie saying, Freddie, they told me that somebody wants me. And Freddie was like, of course somebody wants you. And he was like, yeah. So and Walter, he said, yeah, I might be going home with somebody soon. I might be getting a family soon. And Freddie's like, oh, that's great. That's good news. And we see that it's Professor Randolph coming in behind him. And she was like, he said, yeah. He said, it's not overnight. It's a long process. But me and my wife put in the paperwork. And, we got to do our screening. And, we got to go through, everything. But if everything is everything, hopefully I'll have a son soon. And so everybody is happy to hear it. It's all great. And Freddie apologized. She said, I was tripping yesterday. I was out of line. He was like, you were. He said, you were rude. You were intrusive. He was like, but thank you. You know what I mean? Like, you even though your approach was a little messed up, the end result, I'm cool. Um, and then next thing you know, here come because Mr. Gaines had taken Alex in the back to go get him something to eat. And next thing you know, baby Alex come running out that kitchen with Mr. Gaines' wig, baby. The way I cackled in my living room. Anyway, this was a good one. You see, the review is a little bit longer than it normally is, but y'all let me know what y'all think. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.